Thank you very much, and I'm very happy to be here and also be able to share my experiences and what you've done with our team. But before I start, may please like the technical team play the video, then I'll proceed from there.
Inclusive growth is a pressing global issue. It is a concept that advocates for social and economic equity for all sectors of society. Yes, a lot of efforts towards this cause are being made, but it is also pertinent to realize that the elderly are becoming more and more marginalized, especially in low-income countries. Indeed, the youth is the hope of our future, but what value does the state? Inclusive growth is a pressing global issue. It is a concept that advocates for social and economic equity for all sectors of society. Yes, a lot of efforts towards this cause are being made, but it is also pertinent to realize that the elderly are becoming more and more marginalized.
Thank you very much, brother, for playing that video. So basically what I'm going to do here is just explain to you what we do and how we have started, where we are going, and everything. But before that, allow me to reintroduce myself. My name is Panashe Pemhiwa, and I'm a scholarship alumni class of 2019. And also I finished university. So Hibiscus Dotage Foundation, technical team can play this slide. So Hibiscus Dotage Foundation is an organization that was started by a group of young people. So right here, I'm just here to represent the other guys, and I was privileged enough to co-found the organization. And some might ask about what it is exactly. I'll start by really defining the name Hibiscus Dotage. You know, hibiscus comes from, like, hibiscus is just a flower. We know that there's a purple hibiscus, a pink hibiscus, but this one is a red flower, which is the red hibiscus, which symbolizes love and passion. And talking about dotage is the period of life in which a person is old and weak. So I would like to liken, for example, as young people, we are a flower, we are blooming and everything, but now dotage now is a period of time of life in which a person is old and weak. So I still remember when we started this organization, it was in 2019. I was talking to Tariro Msarandega, who is one of the co-founder on WhatsApp, and we're just having like a normal conversation. It was during the COVID era, if you remember, 2019, the first month of the COVID, around April and July 2019. And we were talking about the challenges that our Zimbabweans are facing, and even Africa at large. And you know, that's when we noticed that there are a lot of organizations here in Zimbabwe. Men, they focus more on environment. Some they focus on the girl child. Some they focus on a lot of other good causes. But we noticed that there are a few organizations that focuses more on the elderly people. You know, so we're like, yes, people, they say that the future is youth. But what value does that statement hold if we exclude people that gave birth to the future? Yes, it's good to do all those things, but how are we including the elderly people who actually gave birth to the future of this nation? So basically, that understanding is what gave birth to Hibiscus Dotage Foundation. So who are we? So we are a voluntary organization that aims to cater the needs of senior citizens of Zimbabwe, and is a dream of restoring the pride of being a senior citizen, you know. So what are we saying? So it's like this organization, we started as a conversation with one of my colleagues, Tarum Sarandega. So this is what happened. So I had the idea, right, about what is going on. And I engaged with Tariro on a WhatsApp conversation. And mind you, that time I didn't know her. We just started talking because she's part of Leadership Academy, class of 2020. So we just started talking. But that's when we started to talk about those challenges. And we were like, I had the idea, and she was good in writing and doing everything else. So that's when we started to talk and said, okay, Chariro, what can we do? And then she then made things happen by writing everything. So we chose to stand by the elderly. But the question is, how did we choose like to stand by the elderly? We are trying to make people realize that no, the future is not only us, the youth, but it is in the hands of those elderly people who actually gave birth. Because for us to be here, there are some people who fought for the nation. There's your parents, your grandparents, So basically, that's what we are trying to make people understand, that no, it's not only us who are important or who are supposed to be part of the future, but you also need those who gave birth to the future. So that's why we started the Hibiscus Dotage Foundation. So yeah, basically, next slide, please. So basically, that's what gave birth to Hibiscus Dotage Foundation. So we chose to stand by the elderly. Hence our mantra, young for the elderly. We want to move with elderly, to make them feel part of the society, to make them feel like they are still part of the society, So another thing, whilst we were talking about organization, obviously when you are starting something like a non-profit organization, you do need people who you are going to work with, because one thing that was important in order to make our vision practical, because it's one thing to have an idea and then another thing to actually implement that idea. So it's like after we had that discussion with Tariro, we then had time to discuss, and then we said, what do we need? Tariro is good at writing and also presenting things, and I was good, in ideas and everything. So we said, okay, we need other people who are going to make our vision more clear, people who are good at designing videos, people who are good at writing and everything else. So that's when we incorporated some of our friends, from Style Leadership Academy, for example, Kunzai Dewa, Chatanaka Mtime, and also Adele. Those are the first 5 guys who started the organization. So it's an organization that was started by a group of young people who believe that there should be a society in which the elderly are treated with respect and are also being made part of the future or part of the society, And around that time, there was this question, I saw this advert on Facebook, it was like, how is it like a parent can take care of 8 children, but the 8 children cannot give birth the same love. They cannot give back the same love, that their parent gave them, So it was something that really was growing up. I grew up in Fakose. I know most people get in Fakose, and I realized there was this grandparent, like we call it go-go, like in our society, every elderly, every old person is your auntie, your father, your grandmother. That's how we're raised. That's our culture in Zimbabwe, and I grew up noticing that those people, like someone with 5 children, right, is suffering like they don't have anyone who's looking after them. So growing up in that environment actually contributed to us, sharing our common, backgrounds and coming something, in order to give birth. Young people, we have similar backgrounds, and they are trying to achieve something, using their experiences, So it really pains me when I see like an elderly, with 8 children struggling to get food, struggling to get something, but yet there are children out there. So that understanding, those type of challenges, those are what gave birth to Hibiscus Dotage Foundation. So what is our vision? So our vision is to restore the society in which the senior citizens are treated with respect and live comfortably with good love, care and decent. And what is our mission? Our mission is to offer services in the form of donation, counseling, and campaigning, connecting, empowering, and also visiting. Okay, so some of you might ask, guys, where did you get the money? Why are you that rich? What happened? How did you manage to come up with something like this? So the thing is, like, one thing that I've noticed, we all had this idea, right? We all had this wanting to make, impact. Mind you, this was during COVID era, and there was like lockdown and no movements. In Zimbabwe, if you were like in the street around 6, 7, I think it was going to be trapped by that time. And what we managed to do, we used social media to communicate, having like meetings during the night on Zoom with some of my team. And then we said, oh guys, one thing that we have noticed is like people, they believe more in what they're seeing than what you will be saying. For example, if you go to someone with something in your hand, right? And then you say, this is what I have. Can you help me with this? They are more likely to help you because you have something that you have already than just going with your idea, like saying, this is what I'm thinking. So what you said, okay, we don't want to just end up being an organization that is a Facebook page. So we said, okay, let's register the organization first before we start working in the field, so that we can gain the trust of people. That was the first step, and that was crucial because wherever we're going, people were asking about those type of documents. And after that, we then said to ourselves, no, before we start to ask about donations from people, or before we start to present the issue to other young people, let's start by using our own pocket money, to buy a certain gift so that we can donate to the elderly as our starting point. So that's how we started. So I remember we were 5 and we contributed about $10 each. I think you can see the picture that is above that donating theme. It was like that was our first project, and we said, oh guys, let's contribute $10 each, and it was around like 50. And then with 50 USD you could buy like grocery, and that was our first project. And as a result, what did you do? We say, okay, after this, what can we do? So this is the method that we used, like, to identify our elderly people. So we noticed that they are elderly people's homes, and we wanted like to look for those elderly people who don't have like someone who's looking after them. So we then targeted those people who are in our communities. For example, I live in Pakuse, some they live in Waterfalls, some they live in Epworth, some they live in Domboshawa. So we then said, okay, we need to look for those elderly people, like with no one who's looking after them. So that was our initial point. We are not going to the elderly people who are already in elderly people's home. We are looking for those elderly who are living in, for example, you could see them like begging in the street, and in Shona they will say, and those are like people, the young people are seeing that maybe she's crazy, but it's not that. So that's when we started to look for those. And one thing that we did, we want people to realize that money is not the only gift that you can give to someone. For example, sometimes what they need, these elderly people, they just need someone to talk to, they just need a visit, they just need someone to share, or even to listen to them, and that was the drive when you're going back, like when you're going in the community. We wanted people to realize that, okay, as you can see, like by our first project, like we started with $50. It was a collective effort, right? We are saying, okay, you have $10, I have $10, but when you put it together, it's now $50. Let's do something. So that's how we started our first project. And we then said, that's when we started, like, we then created our Facebook page, and then we're doing some campaigns, and then we just posted the idea, and we started to see that people were liking the idea. And then that's when we then searched for the elderly people, and then we found like one obviously we started in Pakose because it is in the area that I know best, and also some people who we know, the young people. So the main idea now is to make the young people in the community, or the young people who live around the elderly, to be responsible, to look after those elderly people. So that's when you said to those guys, okay guys, you are the one who live close to this person, you know how she lives, you know what happened, can you be our can you be more of our, what can you say, our volunteer representing the organization, so that when we need something, we come to you. So this is how we have managed to approach young people. So young people, let's say you live in Kambuzuma, or you live in Waterfalls, or you live in Highfield, we then say to you, okay, do you know an elderly? Do you know Gogo or Sekuru who live around you? So that you work with someone you know, right? So by that doing, we've managed to spread to areas like Lomboshava, areas like Epworth, and a big shout out to some members like, we have Bongan from Lomboshava, and she's been doing great work there. And one thing that I wanted to tell you, that distance is not a barrier. Mind you, this was 2020 COVID era, and after that, that's when we then said, okay, I think we need now to have time, to visit the elderly people. So after we bought those groceries, we then donated. And, I was surprised, visiting, going there. I didn't go, but we had reports from we have our agents there. And then we give them sort of a sheet to ask questions. And then those two parents, they were saying that they had nothing to eat for that day. They have 7 children. 6 of them are in diaspora, and 2 of them, they're just on drugs and everything else. And it's like, it made us, wanting to do more because of those stories that we were hearing. And then we were asking ourselves with our team now, what if this is the person, right? What about those who have no one who's looking after them, So those realities, the sufferings from our societies and everything, those are the things that are giving us the power to keep moving, and also looking for other opportunities to helping the elderly people using what we have. So I just want to be honest with you. It's like we do, all right, but we are trying to use what we have, and we have noticed that they just need someone who can come and wash clothes for them. They just need someone who can go, and make sure that their house is clean, and make sure that their outside the house is clean, the grass is cut, and then after that, you see a thank you from an elderly person, like according to our culture, is really something. It's a blessing. They're like your parents. So basically, we just want people to realize that no, you don't need money for you to start making impact. You need to know the right people. You need to know what you have, use what you have to make impact, right? So basically, I've said, yeah. So yes, basically,
I was saying that's true, Panashe, because we are seeing that we are making a great impact, and also I can see in our chat box there is fire in the chat box, and people, they are also excited with the great work that you are doing. I can confirm some of the comments that I managed to note it down. Tanaka said, obviously, you brought up something that I have never thought of. And also, Charles Mendes said, why 8 children can't afford to look after only two parents? So it's very sad. Thank you so much, Panashe, for showing passion towards helping the elderly people. So in 30 seconds, where do people can get in touch with you? How best they can contribute or get in touch with you?
Okay, I think the first step is to start by liking our Facebook page, Hibiscus Dotage Foundation. You find it if you just type Hibiscus Dotage Foundation. I will be posting there. And also, if you want something, you can just write a message. And we're also going to have a winter drive. It's now winter, and a lot of elderly people, they don't have anything to wear. Just contribute to make an impact. So I'll put a number there I'll send you a number that you give to people so that they can reach out if they need something else. But yeah, basically that's how they can reach to us.